Emily. Ooh, it's 11:01. Better get started. Better get going. Okay, here we go. Blessings and welcome. I'm so grateful to be with you here today. Just give me a little moment. Gotta get live on Instagram. I'm so grateful for this beautiful community. What a blessed day. I pray you are well, feeling yourself, feeling the love and the light of this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. All right. Yay! Blessings. Blessings and welcome, everyone. Woo! Okay, we have got some serious talking to do today. Some serious, well, is it really serious? I just mean that there's a lot to cover. And I'm so grateful for this beautiful, blessed community. So welcome, everyone. I am Tuesday Mae Thomas. This is my weekly live stream, 4D Trinity. And it is here that we discuss the profundity, the sheer profundity of all levels of our multidimensional being. And ultimately, 4D Trinity points to the aspect of aligning the mind and the body with spirit. It's so simple. It's that divine Trinity that gives rise to that divinity through us into our experience and creates heaven on earth. We are the vehicle that channels heaven on earth, and it is in our abilities to make it so. So thank you, everyone, for hopping on. Blessings on YouTube and at Instagram. This week's show is titled Holy Vision. And I'm really excited about it and thinking about things. The very first show, I believe, that we did on 4D Trinity in 2020 was titled 2020 Vision. So here we go. It's almost like we're at the end of the year and we're rerunning back around into this aspect of reviewing, coming back around to what is that holy vision? What does it mean? And really bringing our awareness into what we are capable of. You know, this physical domain that is the body, this energy vehicle that we travel in has infinite potential to be activated in its supernatural powers. But let's just take a moment. How activated are your supernatural powers currently? How activated? How turned on are you in spirit? How turned on are you in your ability to be in the world and not of it? And really, that's what we discuss here on this show, is these aspects that, you know, that tend to, the stories and the conditioning that keep us in this seeming matrix here, in this third dimensional reality, these constructs of stories, of conditions, of experiences, and of memory. And ultimately, what the message will be today is that there is a land beyond this world that we are shown, that we are told, that we are conditioned to believe. So thank you, everyone, for hopping on. And I know there's comments already on YouTube. So we'll have a quick look, and then I'm going to get started. We've got a lot to cover. Let's see here. Avine, it's you, my dear sister from a million years ago in Ireland. Oh, I love you. Okay, so Avine, we had her on the show earlier this year. It's on the YouTube. She's Irish, my dear, one of my best friends forever and ever and ever, infinitely and beyond time and space. And she is a medium and a mystic in Belfast. And we had her on the show here earlier this year. So it's up at the 4D Trinity playlist. And we had a lot of fun. I think it's an hour and a half where we talk about the old days, everything from our old days. We used to sing backup singers in a 10-piece funk jazz band in Ireland when we were very young, swilling pints and getting down to the funky sounds. Boy, do we have some memories together, my sister, but also divine memories of healing and awakening our consciousness and the beautiful parallels. So I'm so grateful you could be here. Thank you, Avo. Blessings, sister. All right, my friends, let's get into it. So I've got a lot of, where are they? So a lot of different things I'm going to be pulling from today. Holy vision. Holy vision. So we are going to be looking at a few things that I pulled up from online. We're going to put the pieces together. So first of all, we're going to look at this word holy. Blessings and happy birthday, Heart Grid. Blessings, dear. The etymology of holy, which etymology is the breaking down of a word, of its origins, of its original meaning, etc., etc., etc. Gotta fix up the lines here. Okay. The English word holy dates back to at least the 11th century with the Old English word halig, an adjective derived from hal, whole, which was used to mean uninjured, sound, healthy, entire, and complete. So we think about this, right? Holy is seeing the complete picture, or when I think about it with holy vision, seeing the complete picture, but also not just seeing the complete picture, but seeing everything as a whole, right? We think about the term holistic, this idea of taking into consideration all aspects of the self, not just treating the ailment, not just treating, something, but really like, how are you feeling and what's going on in your, in your finances or emotionally, as well as just that you have a hurt big toe or a stomach ache or a headache, that we take in metaphysically all of the aspects that are going on. And so like that, with our holy vision, we can become aware of the bigger picture. And how do we do that? As I was saying in this first show, which I will tag later on what is it called? YouTube. I'll come back and I'll put a little link up here for our first episode, as I was saying, for 2020 this year was called 2020 Vision, where we were discussing, this aspect. And this is a part of the grid mind science teachings, is that our physical eyes, and I have been influenced, and very much inspired by A Course in Miracles. Oh my gosh, the phone is ringing. Reject. Sorry. Not sorry. It just is what it is. So this idea that our physical eyes, of this physical body that we may think we are, right? These are a part of the sensory intuitive capacities. When they are not hooked up with God, source, love, they are minus the intuitive, the seeing of the bigger picture. And when they stand alone, what are we done in this world? We are taught to see with the dual lenses, this grid matrix that we live in. We are taught to see the duality, love, fear, rich, poor, good, bad. We are taught to really judge, to label, to put things into a separation consciousness, which is not in that realm of that whole or that holy vision, which is fine. This is what we do here in bodies, right? We think that we are bodies. We are told that we are bodies. We take care of our bodies. And of course, there's a level of this happening that is very important for our well-being and to sustain being in this present here. At the same time, there is this aspect of, if we are only looking through these physical eyes, then what we will see is on the horizon, is on the linear timelines of time and space that are bound to these ideas of time and space, which are just ideas. When we activate the heart, and what I preach is that your healing is your ascension. You can meditate, go to workshops, and do all this stuff, which is yes, we've all done it. We're doing it. Some of us facilitators, some of us, go to these facilitators, and some of us do it all. At the same time, there's a level within us that we get out of our own way and choose to heal consciously. And it is in that little willingness, it is that mystic moment, one moment at a time, that we then enter the holy land, the promised land, and we generate a level of providence that then we are carried with and by through our journey. But what does this mean? This means opening our heart. You have the biggest eyeball that you have is your heart. It sees all directions because it has no limitations of the stories of time and space, and of even the directions. We use the directions, but the all-seeing eye, if you will, just in this term specifically, speaks to that which sees, right, beyond the matrix, beyond the veils of the stories that we've been told. And so when we get turned on, and if you've taken those steps into healing your life, into forgiving, into really consciously and sincerely connecting with God, source, love, whatever that is for you, then this is some serious vision. This is some serious power. This is some serious alchemy. Yet if we are only seeing on the horizon without the heart turned on, which always leads to the third eye becoming turned on. They are two in one the same. I teach that they are twins, they are cousins, right? As the third eye activates, the heart will be activated. As the heart activates, the third eye activated. But what I will also offer is that if there is no heart and there is only third eye activation, then we can still be bound, because we're not seeing the whole picture, right? Maybe we've taken a lot of acid, or we've done a lot of whatever it might be to see, to see the sacred geometries and the fractals, right? If you do LSD, if you do the mushrooms, if you're with the medicine, whatever it might be, or maybe just in your altered states, sitting in a flotation tank, you have, where you see things that you don't normally see in your day-to-day life. Yet if those visions are not rooted with heart awakening, with heart and with love to light that vision, then we're just seeing the geometries, then we're just seeing the play, and we are not a part of the play. We are not recognizing that we are the play, that God is within the play, playing through us. And so what I offer is that this divine vision of your third eye and your heart, this is how we see on the vertical ascent. This is how we see that which is beyond the linear horizon of time and space of this third dimension, as we've been taught to see. We've been taught to look at things as past, present, future, right? Yet this perceptual lens, which is actually the knowing lens. So perception is the third dimension, are the eyeballs, are the physical eyes. We see light and dark, right and wrong, the binary system, again, of the third dimension. Yet with their light sight activated, the heart, the pilot light of the heart activated, burning the veils of the stories of the limitations that we've been told, and allowing us to then ignite and see through, right? Get our kaleidoscope, right? As we heal, as we awaken, it's like, oh shit, we start to see things differently. And what happens? Things start to see us differently, and you're not on the same timeline anymore. You're in a whole other activated, elevated plane. And that's where we live. That's where we actually rest. And we've actually never left there. We think we have, as we play out these stories in the matrix. It is important to learn how to master the matrix. And now I'm going off, but let's come back. I'm like, woo. So let's come back. So this idea of the vision, because this is important. We're going to go back to that. Oh, blessings. Thank you. Blessings, everyone. Thank you for joining. So holy. And then I wanted to read for you this idea of vision. Okay. Now, vision. Okay, so we just talked about vision. What I want to talk about is a vision. When we have vision, when we see what is in the heart, which is not us conjuring an idea or a vision to see, but rather it is that which is, again, already present, that divine plane that already is, and it's the loosening of the binds, the loosening of all the things that would have us judge and stay stuck in pain and trauma and limitation that are simply just blocking your holy vision. And so as we get down and get into healing our lives and forgiving and letting go of all the polarity that we walk with, right? We become activated, we can see. And now it's not that easy though, is it? I mean, people spend their whole lives healing, but that's what we're here to do, a part of it. And I won't speak for you, but that's what I preach. A vision is something seen in a dream, trance, or religious ecstasy, especially a supernatural appearance that usually conveys a revelation. Visions are known to emerge from spiritual traditions and could provide a lens into human nature and reality. Now, isn't that interesting that that is speaking about, on the other side of nature and reality that we think we are living in, that vision actually gives us a different way to see what is the matrix, reality with the small r, right? When we activate our holy vision, we begin to see reality with the capital R. We begin to be able to see those aspects of the world, which is the illusion, but we begin to see the light of the illusion. We begin to see more love instead of the pain and the fear and the trauma and the violence and all those polarity-driven aspects. That's what the matrix does, right? It just plays with the light and the dark, light and the dark. That's what it does. Yet through our vehicle of self, we are the ones who create and who decide the vision we would see. And we do that by way of frequency, of resonance, of word, of thought, and also by changing our lenses, changing the way we see things. But we're going to get into this. So holy, dedicated to God, sacred, devoted to the service of God. This is the general definition. Oh, blessings, Lulu. General definition of holy. Dedicated to the service of God, morally and spiritually excellent, right? And what I feel that is holy, is the excellent, that service to God, that aspect is impeccability. This is when you do the quote right thing when no one is looking, not because you're afraid you're going to be punished or because of some story that you've been told, but because it is in your nature to do so, because you know that is operating within your own level of impeccability and holy vision. And it is the grid, it is the timeline. If you're going to be in a body and be in this realm, to operate consciously with impeccability is going to create that resonance field within you, only drawing to you more of those frequencies in people, places, and things in your experience. And you know that after a certain point, you get that. And you're like, fuck this fake stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to lie anymore. I'm not going to because then you begin to awaken and you begin to see that all you're doing, if you're not living in truth of the love of the light, and that is what that is for you, then we're just perpetuating the story. Then we're just hamsters on the wheel in the matrix, right? Vision, the faculty or state of being able to see, the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. Imagination or wisdom, vision, being able to see, right? So we think about all this stuff. I don't have a TV, right? But there's a lot of news. whether we're in this current situation globally or otherwise, there's always news, right? There's always this media feed, this aspect of like, oh, all the doom and the gloom, all the things that are going wrong in the world, everything, and let's put our focus on that. The radio talks about it, the TV talks about it, the this and that, we're all on our phones and our iPads or whatever you have going on. And there's just this feed, right? And so our ability to discern through that feed, through the minutia of the matrix, what is true to us, to take what we will and work with that, is a part of you using your holy vision, right? Is a part of you using your sense of truth and seeing through the stories that you would be told through the media streams. And for you to choose whether you see maybe there's a grain of truth here or maybe it's all false to you. But either way, these feeds of information can stimulate us to be hooked into those modes of thinking. They can get into our subconscious faculty and then begin to drive the decisions and our perceptions a little later. During this current situation, and I really don't even say the word because it's not my grid, but during this current situation, I've said this before, it's so interesting. The folks that I know who have TVs, even family members, they're like I'll hear them say something and I'll be like, oh, okay, about the current situation. And then I'll go to grandma's who has a TV, who's, old grandmas generally watch TV 24 hours a day in my experience. And I'll be like, oh, that's the news. And that's what this person just told me. And that person told me. It's like, it's just this repeat. And that's all we're doing. And so we are perpetuating through our perception, through our words, our thoughts, our deeds, our actions, where we put our energy, we are co-creating the matrix here. And we can co-create it in any way that we would see fit to, in any way that serves us. And that is activating the holy vision. And again, not just the horizon, but the divine third eye and the heart. I'm going here. The third eye and the heart, to see the Holy Cross. And we're going to get into this in just a moment and what this actually means. But to see holy, to see the whole picture, to see the matrix and to say, okay, without judging it, because the moment you judge the matrix, you're stuck in it. Hello? It's God. Hey, God, what's up? Yes, I'm getting down to the funky sound and doing my best. I know we've got a lot to cover. God says peace. Blessings, dear God. I would ooh, astrology. Okay, interesting. I will. I'll read that today. Thank you, God. Love you. Blessings. Okay. So let's keep going. Okay. Yes. Okay. So every year, now we're coming up to the new year, and I forget what I was talking about, but it'll come back around. The cross, the Holy Cross. We're going to come to that in a moment. And every new year, I review. Oh, and isn't this divine timing, Will? Just as just as the God phone rings, and just as I'm about to pick up A Course in Miracles, there I see my BFF, Will. We are united in God and united in the realization of love. And I'm so very grateful for that. Every new year, though, since I've been studying A Course in Miracles, we review the first couple of lessons in it. And it is such a profound teaching and training that trains us on how to think and see with eyes of love and shift from the training that we've had to see and to think and to speak in modes of fear, right? So it's a very good training system to help bridge us out of the training of just seeing the matrix, of just seeing the duality driven aspects. So now in the notes, okay, lesson 1. So there's a lesson for every single day if you're thinking of getting into it, and all the way 365, and then the January 1st, you start all over again. There's a text, there's a workbook for teachers. We'll get into that. And I have other videos that talk about that. But the very first lesson, nothing I see in this room means anything. Now, you're sitting there with your pets, you're sitting there with your husband, your wife, your children, your stack of money, whatever it might be, your 50,000 followers, whatever it might be, none of it means anything. Right. And now maybe you're elevated, you're evolved, and you're like, yes, that's true. Right. But for a general level speaking, we can imagine that this is quite a conundrum, quite a conundrum for us when we've been living strictly in a third dimensional paradigm, to become awakened to this notion that, oh, nothing I see means anything. And let's move on to lesson 2. I have given everything I see in this room all the meaning it has for me. And now I had handwritten notes here at the bottom. Through your own experience, you define people, places, or things, and or are given definitions, meanings of things through family, culture, society, religion. So first lesson is deconstructing all the ideas we have about everything that we think that we see. Okay? The second lesson is realizing like, oh, I've agreed. Black is bad, white is good, whatever it is, right? Republican, Democrat, whatever it is. Money, no money, sickness, health. We define, we decide. We give it the twist. We give it the polarity, right? Through either how our own experience of actually being in it, right? And that evolves over time. Yet at the same time, again, all those stories we're told and we're given, right? We're from little boo-boos. We're told everything about everything. And we soak it in like a sponge, and then we live it out until we realize what is true to us and where we may change our thoughts about things, our perceptions. Lesson 7 then, I see only the past. This idea is particularly difficult to believe at first, yet it is the rationale for all of the preceding ones. Old ideas about time are very difficult to change because everything you believe is rooted in time. Again, there's that horizon. There's that past, present, future, the illusion of time. Yet that is precisely why you need new ideas about time. This first time idea is not really so strange as it may sound at first. Look at a cup. For example, do you see a cup, or are you merely reviewing your past experiences of picking up a cup, being thirsty, drinking from a cup, feeling the rim of a cup against your lips, having breakfast, and so on? Are not your aesthetic reactions to the cup too based on past experiences? We're reliving the same things over and over again. Let me find my place. How else would you know whether or not this kind of cup will break if you drop it? What do you know about this cup except what you learned in the past? You would have no idea what this cup is except for your past learning. And that's the whole idea. We have no idea what anything is except that we've been told, oh, okay, this is for that. Oh, okay, that's for that. And it's useful, right? If you want to fix your car. It's like, it's useful. Like, oh, okay, I put the Q-tip here, not here. It's like, yes. Right? We're like, okay, there's some things that are very handy and useful, to run on those tracks. But what are the other aspects to it? What is beyond the cup? Look about you. Okay, so the point here in this is, do you really even see the cup? Because you've been told about the cup. Again, what is it? Money, racism, judgment, politics, whatever all those polarity things in this matrix are, those are things that we've been told, we've been taught, we've been shown. Movies, media, family. Maybe you've had literal experiences of it yourself, but those are also malleable. Your memories are malleable. So is the cup even here? Neo, right? Is there even a spoon? There is no spoon. The spoon is there because we see the spoon, because we're told that it's a spoon. So I pray you're getting this. So that's a big chunk, and we're going to come back and read a bit more of A Course in Miracles here in a little bit. Let's see. So I wanted to share with you some of my personal stories. Vision. So even the way that we see in the world, and this has been a theme that's come up in a few shows, and I'd never really talked about this before, but it's here. One of my exes was a pornography addict. And I remember I really, when I found out about this just, the amount and the range of emotions and of confusion, and that's not my grid. And I was completely shocked. I had no idea, betrayed, heartbroken, blah, 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 all the stuff. We actually broke up because of it, because he was so addicted. He had to go to therapy, this whole thing. So he hid it very well, though, for quite a long time. And I didn't see it. Once I saw it, once he showed me, he told me and admitted it, and et cetera, and I then created my judgments and all of my hurt and my pain, and cast out all my grids of judgment into that idea. Well, here we are 10 years later, and I'm developing a system, which I'll share with you in the new year, called 30 by 3 by 30. And it's 30 affirmations 3 times a day for 30 days to rewire your neural net, your biochemistry, your ability to be in the world and not of it, right? To shapeshift and to create new grids that you can then surf in this reality with a capital R. So I'm doing my work, and one of my affirmations is actually, I forgive, fill in, right, this person's name. I forgive, da, da, da. And I'm only like 8 or 9 days in, and I would do them in the mirror. That's part of the practice, is where you look into your eyes in the mirror while you say the affirmation with intention, with sincerity. And so I'm in the bath, and I got the mirror set up, I got the candle and the crystals, and I'm like doing my 30 affirmation. I got my text cards. I'm like bathing, doing my thing in there. And I get to this part. And again, I don't know, I'm not even halfway through my 30 days of doing it. And I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm like, okay, here we go. And I say, I forgive, da, da, da. I forgive, da, da, da. I forget. And in that moment, like in the middle of the second one or something, my eye, and this eye specifically, again, that kaleidoscope, it shifted. And I've actually seen this because I've been doing 30 by 3 by 30 for several years now. I've seen it in my own eye, where the iris and the colors and you will kaleidoscope where you are ready, where your eye will actually physically reflect the shift of your vision of how you're seeing things, because that's all it is. Observer effect. We're going to talk about this here in a moment. That's all. Everything is just responding to how you see it. And when you see things differently, everything starts to show up for you differently. So what am I saying? I'm saying I'm in the bath. I'm doing this affirmation. In this moment, my eye suddenly sees, it's like clear freaking vision. And I was like, wow. And this is the one that has more of the fuzzies and stuff going on, right? Because I wear glasses, blah, blah, story, right? But at the same time, I was like, I had a breakthrough. There was a new neural net. There was a new connection. There was a new synaptical availability to me to see things differently, to forgive that person from the past. From those experiences, I projected all of my hurt and emotions and da 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 da. That, for me personally, had affected my vision, my ability to then see other partners in relationship with clarity, without that lens, without that fear, and how that fed into my self-esteem, et cetera, et cetera. It's all connected. I pray you're getting this, right? So there's a connection through how we perceive. So that's a little story. And I think I have one more for you. The miracle. Okay. Yeah, we change records. So December 30th, I will be facilitating. I'm doing this every other month. It's an Akashic Records release and retrieval. I have a whole theory on the Akashic Records and on the grid. If you go to my other page, Grid Mind Science, the latest post is there regarding it, where I break down my hypotheses. What we do in that workshop is we go into the Akashic Records and we put back the records that are playing through us. We release and we retrieve new records. If you imagine, all we're doing is we are playing, the vehicle of self is playing the records that we have agreed to, whether you believe in sacred contracts or just karmas or lessons or whatever all this stuff is, right? There are records, Akashic records, remember, like vinyl? Just imagine, play with me here for a minute. We have a library of records. Here's my records, say, right behind me. And these are the records I walk with energetically. The grooves of the songs on these records are grooved into my etheric body template. And the Akasha is ether. We are one with the ether. Now, what's going to happen is I'm pulling up these records from the Akashic records, from that collective subconscious, through agreement or unconscious even agreement. These beliefs, these lessons, these karmas, these realities are playing through me, whether I'm aware of them or not. These records are playing through me, through my vision, through my word, through my actions, through my deeds. When we become awakened and we become aware of what actions, thoughts, and words and deeds are serving us or are not serving us, we're like, I got to put those records back on the shelf. Right? And that's what that workshop is all about. It's about realizing, right? There's something that maybe perhaps we're ready to change. Or maybe for you by December 30th, go to my Linktree at Instagram, my main bio page, the first button on Linktree, and you can read all about the information. You can even book your spot already if you're ready, if you know. But the idea is that we put the old records back on the shelf, honey child, right? And often even just by doing that, right, the spaciousness then that is created for the love and the light that we truly inherently are to shine, to then be the guiding source that helps us navigate our way through the matrix, becomes illumined. Yet in this workshop, we're also going to retrieve aspects, new albums, records, etc., to play through this vehicle of self, which then, through the etherical body template, as we play then these new songs or the songs that we're playing currently, this generates through our field the geometries, the vibration and frequential resonance that stimulates the grid matrix of collective consciousness, which is the field of all of our minds through all time, space, and dimensions. And it then says to that superposition soup of the grid mind, of the grid matrix, it says, I'm placing my order, and here's my order, through all the albums, through all the records that are playing through me. And the grid says, I got you, babe. I'm going to reflect that back to you. You know how we say what you put out, you returns to you multiplied, right? That's the grid. That's the grid. This is us, little Pepe, the stick figure, pulling from the Akashic, pulling from those Akashic records. And this is my hypothesis, and I pray that it resonates. Let me know if you feel this, because I feel this is a big one. I presented it earlier this year at the Conscious Life Expo. And now that it's almost a year later, I'm like, oh, snap. I'm getting more and more of this clarity in it. And I'm writing it into the Grid Mind Science screenplay. And it's becoming now this template. And I pray that it really serves you, because when we get this, game over, game changer. Akashic records, collective, subconscious. pulling into us, into our etherical template, those records we would have, consciously or unconsciously, subconsciously, projecting as threads of thought, of word, of energy, of action out into the universe. We're placing our order in the cosmic kitchen and saying, universe, I'm affirming on repetition that I cannot make money. And the universe is like, we got you, babe. Or I'm affirming, that I'm healthy. Universe, we got you, babe. It's whatever you decide. And this is where holy vision is such a powerful, powerful tool, because when we get it, when we really get that what we put out returns to us multiplied, and that everything is just energy and just atoms just waiting. They're just waiting. They're just like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be sick? Do you want to be tall? Do you want to be short? Do you want to be fat? Do you want to be ugly? Do you want to, and okay, maybe you're not going to grow 6 feet, but from personal experience, I've grown 1 inch from 20 years of doing yoga. I'm serious. Talk to your yogi friends. They're like, honey, you just stand up tall. You're going to grow 3 inches. It's like, it's all perceptual lenses, though, you see, and it's the feeling realization of what we would have instead of what the matrix would show us. And it's our ability individually and collectively to see through the veils that creates whatever this new earth is that we're talking about, whatever this new earth is, this idea that there's this regeneration of this planet, this regeneration of love within us, individually and collectively. So we still have to read from the God phone, but first we have a few more things. Let's see. So let's think about this for a moment. What situations, what reruns are you running from the Akashik? Quit your bitching. Are you serious? Oh, thanks for hanging out. I see you, brother. So which reruns from the Akashik, which records are on your shelves? Which records are in your etheric body? Which records are you playing? Right? And then your friend goes, dude, you totally sound like your mom. You totally sound like your dad. And you're like, fuck, you're right. You're playing your daddy's records, baby. What would you say? What would you see? What would you think? This is where we get to deconstruct. Remember, all I see is the past from A Course in Miracles. What if nothing you see means anything? What if you take all the meaning away from everything that surrounds you now? Then what is there? You can redefine. You can change your mind. So what situations are on rerun for you? You be like, oh, I see those Akashic records now. I see the records I be playing, and is it serving you? Is it healthy for you? Which lessons are you still not seeing clearly or wholly? Okay. The subtlety of bullies and chemtrails. Oh yeah. So in my book, The Reiki Apprentice, available again at my link tree. Go to my link tree at my bio. It's on Amazon, Kindle, and paperback. But it's my autobiography up until I was 31. And my whole life I was bullied. And there were things I was not seeing. You see, now I've learned the lessons and I've healed and I've forgiven. And I don't have to walk around. I mean, for ages, because I had unhealed trauma from being bullied and getting into some dangerous situations because I didn't know how to use my throat chakra, how to stand up for myself. And I didn't see the signs beforehand. So I'd be all of a sudden in the situation. I'd be, oh, fuck, now I got to get out. But now, because the deconstruction and the healing, the forgiveness and the releasing of those memories that are really just the past and not true anymore, I've taken the good from them, you learn the lessons, you heal, you grow, and then you see things differently. But you also, as a master, you're like, and I'm in the third dimension, a badass motherfucker, and I will see through your bullshit. So when the bully energy comes, the manipulation, the subtle things of that, still though, sometimes I'm like, oh, I get a little sideswiped, I still don't see it, but I think there's a beauty in that because there's still an innocence of love that's like, I'm going to accept you unconditionally. Maybe you're trying to show me your devil horns, but I'm like, I'm just going to see your halo, baby. Devil don't like that, but that's a whole other show, right? The point is that as we heal and deconstruct the stories, we begin to see things differently. We begin to see with the holy vision, with that holistic view with the ability to see through the third eye, the heart, and the physical eyes on the horizon. So cross in the circle, I want to talk about this because last night then, as I'm thinking about these ideas for today's show, then what spirit shows me, and because I've done this several times in many shows for the 4DT, talking about the vertical vision and the horizontal vision, then spirit came in and they showed me that. And then they showed me, they drew a circle around it. And I was like, oh, no, you didn't. And spirit's like, oh, yes, we did, girl. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. Clearwater said on. Valere, blessing, sister. And I was like, you know what? I've seen this symbol so many times over the world and just around and whatever, but I didn't know what it means. So here we go. The traditional meaning of the cross in the circle symbol was the 4 equal lines pointed from the center to the spirits of the north, east, south, and west, and the representation of the sacred 4 elements, the great primary forces of fire, air, water, and earth. The meaning of the cross in a circle, symbol to the Native Americans, the solar cross. The sacred religious solar cross or cross in the circle is a symbol of the sun and fire and was adopted by many Native American tribes in various forms. The 4 elements is represented by Native American tribes, notably the Hopi, with the following solar cross or cross in a circle sign, which means or signifies the world. The world. The 4 bars of the cross in the circle represent north, south, east, west. So there's another hypothesis that I share, and I have a couple shows on it, and I've made a couple of videos on it at my Grid Mind Science page. There's nothing new under the sun is just a story that we've been told. Nothing new under the sun keeps us in the matrix. Nothing new under the sun speaks to those records that we keep playing on repeat from the Akashik. Why does this keep happening to me? Nothing ever changes. The victim, blah, 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 right? All these things. And I don't mean that in a mean way, because I was a victim. Oof. Up until just 4 years ago, I lived my whole life as a victim. So I get it. I get it. But here we are. Once we begin to break through, we realize like, oh, all I'm doing is doing replays of the same thing, right? Here's Stone, the giraffe. I hope it's not glary. Stone, the giraffe. Now, we think about Pepe. Pepe is pulling up from the Akashic the records he would play, casting it out into the grid matrix. The grid matrix is bringing it back as experience, right? This is a feedback loop. It's a feed forward into the grid matrix. It's a feed forward and a feedback loop. What we put out, right? Where is he? Where's the arrows? Feed forward. What we put into the grid, what we put out into the universe, into the matrix, feedbacks to us. Okay? So as long as we're singing the same songs, dancing the same steps, doing what we're told to do, etc., seeing what we've been told to see. You see it in movies, these movies where the person's third eye awakens and they're like, whoa, and they begin to see holy vision. They begin to see what they hadn't seen before. I propose that, yes, there is new under the sun, yet you're not going to see it as long as you're on repeat in the matrix and rerunning those unconscious, subconscious stories from the Akashic. You're going to see it by going into the sun and going beyond the sun. And I think this is so cool, the way that this Holy Cross in our seeing the whole vision, seeing not just the matrix eyes on the horizon, but seeing with God's eyes, with your third eye and your heart. And you see, I see the matrix. I see the play of the stories without judging it. You see it, but you see it. You're like, okay, that's cute. That's a story. But you can also see through it. You see the higher truth, if you will. Reality with a small r, reality with a capital R. And when they are combined, we draw the circle around it. We have holy vision. We see the whole picture, the complete, the unified picture. We see, without having to see, we see the divinity. Remember, Mr. Rogers, there's that story I love to tell. He's little. There was a riot happening in his neighborhood. He's a little boy and he's looking out the window. Mama, mama, look, look. You know, he's getting all freaked out. And Mr. Rogers' mom just says, look for the helpers. There's always good. To think that there is not is a story. You are the good. Be the good. If you don't see it, then you be it. I mean, and this is getting real here in this third dimension, right? Or is it? Or is it? I don't know. I'm still laughing, and I pray to be laughing all the way, right? All the way. But there's this idea, right? And I posted in stories, and I want to do a whole show on it. And I wish this was a little more circular. But you know that post that's going around, or it's been around for years. Everything is nothing with a twist, right? And it shows a circle on the top. Everything is nothing. And then the bottom part of the meme is the infinity with a twist. And I posted in stories this week saying, you know, that really we add the twist. We're the ones who add the story. We're the ones who add the polarity about things, about everything. Watch your mind, listen to yourself, talk to yourself throughout the day. And the polarity, the add-ons that you add to things that will create more separation. Is it creating more unity in your experience? Or is it creating more of that pull and that separation? Is it creating holy vision? Or is it not? Or is it creating matrix vision? Are you seeing the reality with the small r? Are you seeing the helpers? Are you being a helper? Or are you seeing the reality, with the capital R? But everything is nothing. Everything is nothing. Again, I have to do a whole show on that and sit with that to get some really some deeper notions to share about it, but with the twist. So this infinity symbol, this is the hamster on the wheel, and infinity is beautiful. We know there's these beautiful aspects about infinity, right? But infinity is still bound to the loom of time. Eternal, that which is eternal is beyond time. So we add the stories, we add the twist, and the more stories we add, the fear, the limits, the judgments, the polarity, the oh honey, you the little hamster, let's just keep running. It's a good workout. But it keeps us on the loom, you see, of the matrix. And the idea that I share is that we learn to generate that holy vision. We learn to see with the third eye and the heart activated in tandem with the physical eyes as we learn our way around honing our perceptual lenses. We're taught to see in fear, but we begin to train ourselves in how to see love on purpose. Mr. Rogers, that little kid, he's like, what are you talking about? There's like almost a full-on war. There were gang violence out of his window, fires, broken glass, people punching each other out. And his mom's just all calm. She's all guru. And she's just like, look for the helpers. A little Mr. Rogers is like, you can imagine. You got to be like squeaky, squeaky, and really like see through it. And this is our holy vision. And there's a deeper aspect that we're going to get into now or soon or something. I told you we had a lot to cover today. Okay. Metaphysically. And if you've had this experience, then metaphysically, you decide what's happening to you. And metaphysically, the way you speak over an experience, the way you see people, places, things, is going to inform those people and places and things and how to respond back to you. We know this. There's basic things of like, stay calm, and this will help others to be calm. There's a brilliant chapter in my book. It's actually my favorite chapter in the whole book, in my book, The Reiki Apprentice, where a crazy man gets on the subway in New York and we get stuck underground. If you're in New York, or sometimes those subways, they just stop running and you're freaking miles underground, underwater in this tiny sardine can with, multiple people. And then the lights go out and there was a little explosion and there was smoke in the car. It's this crazy situation. And this homeless dude with a knife starts to threaten people. And it was wild. And this was at the beginning when I was becoming a Reiki master I don't even know if I was a master yet, or I was a level 2 or 3 at this point of the story. But I got to exercise my mastery and go beyond what was being shown to me, the fear with the knife and the story and all this, and everyone's freaking out. And I got to have that divine experience of embodying the calm, of embodying those higher frequencies in that situation, and literally just watching how it affected the environment. Right? And not to say like, oh, we're so great, but we freaking are. And we have these powers. We have these superpowers, and it's not to manipulate, and it's not to really change anything because of any fear-based thing. It came from a place of calm. It came from a place of, because this is my nature, bitch. This is what I do. And I'm, part of me is like, I'm getting pretty sassy today. And a part of me is like, should I apologize for cursing so much today? Another part of me is like, no, you keep going. Sometimes I get through a whole show without saying an F-bomb, and sometimes I don't. And that's just the way it is. But you know what I'm saying? I'm doing my best to drive home this point that these are our natural inherent capability is to see love. Your nature is to see through the matrix. This is your holy vision. This is your nature. And where we see disturbances, we are putting them there. I'm going to read something here in a minute from A Course in Miracles that my teacher said, and I'll say it now and then we'll come back to it in a little bit. But she said, and Will, you'll like this. Constance, she said, if you see a shooter in the mall, you're the one putting him there, or her, or it. You're the one putting them there. You're the one seeing it. Okay, just let that sink in. Because I know if that idea is new, you're like, what? So we did the circle and the cross. Now I think we're going to read what the God phone. Yes, the God phone. Now God wants us to read, and this is very exciting, wants us to read a little bit from Making the Gods Work for You by Carolyn W. Casey. Now, on the heels of this, I'm very excited to have my own mother on the show with us next week, December 17th. I'm sure that is next week, isn't it? I believe it is. Oh, look, it's already 11:52. We might be going over just a little today. She is an astrologer. She's a Buddhist teacher, an amazing facilitator, Reiki master. I'll let her break down her bio and stuff for us next week, but she's going to be joining me on the show next week. And she's going to be breaking down this December 21st of 2020. She's going to help us to understand this Aquarian age we are moving into and the astrology of events. And isn't it interesting that the God phone is inviting us to read a little bit of, on the heels of that, some aspects that have to do with this astrological idea. And really, this piece speaks to the conditioning, again, that is upon us, right? The conditioning and the breaking through that. And in this chapter, I'm not going to read the chapter, but I'm going to read a few paragraphs. She talks about, and I'm not an astrologer, I like to pretend sometimes, but I am not. But she talks about these different planets and how there's these sets of planets that are the change gods. These change gods will do whatever it takes to liberate us from the constraints of our conditioning so that we may exercise our full imaginative freedom. And remember at the beginning when we were talking about the words holy and vision, right? That this is to use your imagination to see freely beyond the confines of the stories we've been told. This sometimes results in a bumpy ride, right? We know that, oh, that eclipse, I'm so exhausted. Or I did a sweat lodge during the last full moon and man, my shit really came up and I really got down to some deep healing. We use these aspects. This sometimes results in a bumpy ride. The name Pavlov should ring a bell. He was a Russian scientist who experimented with conditioned response in animals. When there was a flood in his laboratory, none of the surviving dogs retained the least trace of their conditioning. And so it is with us when we undergo startling disruption. When my ex attempted suicide, when I found out that a different ex had a pornography addiction, when I realized that I could forgive the people that had bullied me in my youth, when you have these stark realizations and you really get it and the shoe really drops, that's the invitation. That's when the vortex is open and it's saying like there's a whole cast of new timelines. If you are willing to jump through, if you're willing to timeline jump, do the work, reset the way you see things, the way you think about things, the way you speak about things, start to do your healing with regard to that aspect, boom, you will be carried. You will be carried, but you have to be willing to let the old story go. When we have been stripped of our familiar certainty, the outer planets when we have been stripped of familiar certainty, right? That's the stories. That's the but it always does this. But I was told, but my mom told me that or these kind of people always do this. And then when we are stripped of the familiar certainty, the outer planets, part of us rejoice. So the part of us that reflect the outer planets rejoice. saying, at last, these humans have run out of plans. Now we can work with them. So remember, there's this aspect of synchronicity is when we live in the now. Synchronicity is heaven on earth. Synchronicity is flow. Synchronicity is the nowosphere. It is not in time. It is not bound to the horizon, to the timelines as we've been taught that they exist. If everything is planned out, right, we may be in the grid of really having a lot of control, and that control is a big part of how we maneuver in our lives, right? To have everything figured out to a T, which is fine. Yet where's the sacred space for the divine to come in, to dance, to inspire, to show you spontaneous, healing, to show you spontaneous, a different direction, a way to go? If we are very stuck in our ways, then how will we ever know what is beyond our ways? And that's what this speaks to. When these planets, when these things do a certain alignment, it's like boom, and we're like, oh my God, I was crying, and then I had this realization, whatever these things are. But that's when it's like the Rubik's Cube. Remember, I've been talking a lot about the Rubik's Cube lately. Another thing that's in my movie. Those pieces get moved around, and we see things differently. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto describe collective weather patterns. We all suffer under the illusion that the issues we confront are private. Yet even in isolation, we are connected. We're all swimming in the same ocean, subject to the same tides and currents, undergoing similar challenges and exhilarations. Overcoming the illusion of isolation allows us to hearken back to an archaic memory of community, where there is no such thing as a private problem. Community, this is the Aquarian age. No such thing as a private problem. It's like, if there's one nation that's suffering, it's like, okay, how does this nation heal so that the whole can heal? If you're a relatively healthy person, but your big toe has gone septic, how healthy are you? Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto want us individually and collectively to become them, or to at least to become their agents, change, dissolve, transform. Okay. When Uranus shatters an old pattern of familiar misery, we first become awakened. Then we become awakeners, agents of Uranus, right? Once you see the light, once you've awakened, you're like, and of course we don't, I'm very mindful. I preach, but I'm very mindful, if I see something and I feel a guidance, I'll say, may I offer you something? And not just push my ideas or something onto someone else. Or wait for them to ask, how do you see it? Or what do you think? And there's often, as a healer, facilitator, and all that stuff, you realize like, oh, when they come to you, or if they say yes, then it's more potent for them than you just badgering someone with your ideas. But like this book was just saying, when you realize the shift, when you realize there's something to preach about, that there is good news, then you're like, I want to stand on the mountaintop, or start my own live stream, or go live on Facebook and do little tidbits, or, make memes that are specifically about this, or forward other memes that are like in alignment with this, because y'all, I have seen something, and this is freaking real. This is true. This is the reality with the capital R. I have seen beyond the matrix, and I want to show you how to. And this is what we get to do for each other. Okay, forgiveness, non-judgment. So here we go. We're going to go back into, and this is interesting. Just one line. This book, I go in and out of this book, Body Electric, by Robert O. Becker, MD, and Gary Selden. There's a lot of cutting up salamanders and regrowing of parts in them. But there's this one little sentence that wanted to be written today that resonates with this. The central rule of science, and if you're a science geek, revision in light of new data. That's the rule of science. You can have a whole theory worked out, and with research and other people's papers reflecting these ideas and stuff, but then you get Uranus comes in, or you have a healing or an awakening, and you're like, and then you see another piece of the puzzle, and you're like, in light of this new data, I get to go back and reconfigure the theory of self, the theory of who you are. So we're going to get back into A Course in Miracles here. We're going to read about this idea. God, please, where is it? There's so many little stickers in here. Okay, yes. About this idea of the five senses. We ultimately, right, and how they're related to the chakras, we ultimately learn how to become activated in these five senses so that we begin to not only see, right, through the physical eyes, but we see through the soles of our feet. We see through our feeling. We see through our touch, right? And we touch through our eyes, and we taste through our sense of smell, and we like all of the senses begin to merge and mingle and cross communicate, and they become one. When we activate our sensory, our ability, like the throat chakra is such a great example, because it's not just about communicating, speaking your truth, which of course is very important, and it is about that opening and the clear expression and communicating of your truth. In tandem, though, throat chakra activation is about your ability to listen and not just hear, right? Again, it's different to look. To look is to look with your physical eyes, to see time and space, the limitations of the matrix, to see, aha, third eye, heart chakra. It's very different. And there was something I was saying there, but now I forget. The senses. Yes, the throat chakra. So listening, right? So hearing is different from listening. This is what I'm saying, is that there's these, like in astrology, how the Scorpio has like it can be on the lower level, it's the scorpion, right? On the higher level, it's the eagle. It's like all of our senses have those aspects too. There's like the base level of like, well, I'm looking, but are you seeing? Well, I can hear you, but are you listening? Right? So let's talk about this. Page 574 in chapter 27, number 7. Forgiveness vanishes. So the power here, so holy vision, right, is fully supported by our ability, again, to drop the stories. And a big part of that, as I preach, healing is our path to ascension, to enlightenment. Forgiveness is a massive, major component of healing. Forgiveness vanishes and symbols fade, and nothing that the eyes have ever seen or ears have heard remains to be perceived. Now, let me just backtrack here for a moment. Forgiveness vanishes. A Course in Miracles teaches us to use forgiveness as the tool to bring us back to God, to bring us back to our ability to see through the third eye and the heart, our ability to see what is beyond the veil of the story, right, that has hurt us, the person we need to forgive, ourselves even in that story. But that ultimately, the further reach of A Course in Miracles speaks to that whatever it is that you're sad about or traumatized about actually never happened. It happened in the matrix, perhaps, but it never really happened in spirit. It is all illusion. It is in the past. It is not real. And I know these are concepts that are very tough to grasp. I had a friend who, her father did some weird sexual stuff to her when she was little, and she's like, this is really tough. And I'm like, I know. But the more that you go in and you forgive and you just allow in that little willingness to see things differently, you begin to see things differently and things begin to show up to you differently. Again, observer effect will go, we have that in our notes here in just a moment. So nothing you've heard before, nothing you've seen before, or you've perceived before, right? When you forgive, it's like everything just vanishes. All the stories have then you've created the correct conditions for those things to be reconfigured, like the Rubik's Cube. A power wholly, WHOLLY, limitless, has come, right? When we let go. A power that is beyond us in these little bodies comes, not to destroy, but to receive its own, to extend itself. God is like always like, yo, I'm always here. Where you at? Yo, you are always whole and blessed. Where you at in your mind? Where you at in your thoughts? What's on repeat? What's distracting you? What needs healing? What is calling for you to mend and to work out here so that you can rest and be at peace and be as one? There is no choice of function anywhere. The choice you fear to lose, you never had. Yet only this appears to interfere with powerful, unlimited, and single thoughts, complete and happy, without opposite. So there's this aspect in A Course in Miracles that teaches that There's love and only love. In the third dimension, in the grid mind science teachings that I share, the matrix, again, this is the binary system, the right, the wrong, the yes, the no, the left and right, the good, the bad, the black, the white, the duality, right? This is how we live here in the matrix. This is the third dimensional plane. We learn to master the matrix, though, and we learn that there is a vision beyond this binary system as we turn on the heart and the third eye and begin to activate that holy vision. We see what is beyond the story. We see what is beyond what the matrix would show us. And there's a point here. For some reason, it keeps escaping. It's like right here. There's a point. There's a point. There's a point. There's a point. What was I going to say? It's right here. Thank you. Thank you. Higher self is helping out so much today. Trinary vision is what grid mind science proposes. That once we have exercised the ability to see through the matrix, to embody that frequency of love and light, to where the tipping point has shifted in a much greater degree towards the love and the light versus the fear, the pain, the trauma, the stories, the unhealed karmas and lessons and whatever that we walk with. But when that tipping point has shifted so deep into the light and you become that light, walking that light, you are God, God is you. According to A Course in Miracles, that might give some folks a knee-jerk reaction, but all is one. That is the truth. And you learn how to relax in that. And what gives rise to then is this ability, like A Course in Miracles say, is to see without an opposite, is to see love and only love. And that is holy vision. To see love and holy love. There you go. Love and only love. And this is the plane of trinary. This is a different subset. This is a different matrix, different grid setting, where the choices are no longer choices because every choice is rooted in love. And so no matter what choice you choose, it's all going to match and support and root and ground and amplify that which already is. The same thing as our willingness to forgive, to heal. And God's like, you're going to get to have more of me now. You're going to get to realize more of your unity, more of this love and this light within you. Because what is healing? It's self-love. And what is knowing thyself? It is self-love. It is you healing your life, is you being the alchemist, is you learning how to turn that frown upside down. And there's trauma. I mean, believe me, I've been through it. Read my book. You know, we all have our stories. But like this was, like she was saying in this book, you know, you're not special. And A Course in Miracles says that too. We all, Buddhists love this, you know, we all suffer. I make fun of the Buddhists because one of the first teachings is like, everything is suffering. And that's not how I roll. So I poke fun at it because I'm like, no, it's not. But as that idea, right? That's a story too. Let me not get sidetracked though. But I pray it's all resonant and coming together. So, okay, where are we? You do not know the peace of power that opposes nothing. The peace of power that opposes nothing. When you don't judge anything, when you're not fighting with people or circumstances or like, fuck, that check didn't come through, now I'm screwed, and now the rent, and then you add a story to the story and the story and the story, and you're connecting yourself to more grids. Remember, feed forward, feedback loop. When you just like, when the check doesn't come and you're just like, okay, the check isn't here right now, but that's just this one little moment. And you don't attach a story and you don't oppose it. You don't try to fight it. And you just are like, okay, this is whatever it is what it is. And that's the story in the world of the matrix. Because what is money? It's just energy, right? So whether the check is there on time or not, you know, how you see it is going to influence how it sees you and how it's going to further manifest in your reality. When you don't oppose it, then it has no power. It has no power. Yet no other kind can be at all. Give welcome to the power beyond forgiveness, which is realizing that nothing bad ever really even happened to you, that your soul is unfuckable with. And that no matter what happens here in the matrix, this is a tiny fragment of experience in the greater whole of your soul's reality with the capital R. Beyond the world of symbols and limitation, he would merely be, and so he merely is, right? You stop trying so hard to change people. Okay, blessings, Vajra Queen. Vajra Queen is going to be with us. Vajra Healing Arts is her platform. She's going to be with us breaking down December 21st, 2020 next year. So I know we're going over. Usually these shows are just an hour, but I want to finish up here because I believe I feel there are some really important aspects here to just finish connecting the dots of our ability to understand this idea of holy vision. So let's see. The five senses, we went through that. What you know or you see about your surroundings is what we've been told to see. Okay, I'm willing to see things differently. So yes, here it is. I made a note of it. My Course in Miracles teacher said the next time you see a shooter in the mall, you're doing it. You're the one seeing it. I mean, whoa, right? To put our heads around that, to be able to like Mr. Rogers that, and to just look for the helpers and not focus on the shooter, to look for the good and not focus on the blood and be traumatized by the situation, but to rise above, if you will, and see beyond the matrix. And now granted, there's things happening in this matrix. There's things happening in the world, and we're not turning a blind eye to it. We are simply using our supernatural powers of vision, of holy vision, to see the whole, the much bigger picture. And really what A Course in Miracles teaches is that anywhere where there's hurt, where there's pain, where there's anger, where there's fear, is just a call for love. It's just a call for love. Dream softly of your sinless brother who unites with you in holy innocence, in not knowing. And from this dream, the Lord of heaven will himself awaken his beloved son, his beloved children. That's all of us. Dream of your brother's kindness instead of dwelling in your dreams on his mistakes. Dreams on his mistakes, judgment, separation consciousness, good, bad, duality. This keeps the past, or I have a note on the side here that I wrote, keeps the past, what is unreal, alive for you. So where I perceive that someone has done me wrong, or I need to hold someone accountable or get revenge, this is only perpetuating the matrix. This is perpetuating. We're adding to the story. The moment you say, I choose to see things differently, I'm going to choose love and place love here, I'm going to choose forgiveness, it creates a whole different condition. All of a sudden, an infinite amount of new timelines become available to you so that you may be transported along your path of ascension and see things differently and have a different experience. Thus, you are not the dreamer, but the dream. And so you wander idly in and out of places and events that it contrives. The dream, right? We're constantly creating these dreams in our heads. That this is all the body does is true, for it is but a figure in a dream. But who reacts to figures in a dream unless he sees them as if they are real? So we are taught that all the stuff that we are shown here is real. The instant that he sees them as they are, the instant we see that the bully is just a child that needs love or that's calling out for love, the same thing with the shooter in the mall, the same thing with, the riots. He's like, oh, it's all just, we need love, right? Or this is a call for love. And even beyond that, though, that is not a judgment. That is a way of perceiving the situation without being affected or adding to the polarity to it that bridges our ability to then go beyond even that and to see the whole as perfect, to see even in amidst the craziest stuff that could happen in our world, to see the divine within it. And that is our holy vision. That is our power. The instant that he sees them as they are, they have no more effects on him. So the moment, like Neo in the Matrix, the moment, right, that we see that we've dropped the story about the bullets, that we've dropped the story about, that there's an evil person out to get us, the government, the man, whatever it is, the politic, whoever it is. The moment we drop that story, the moment those aspects have less power. And that's the moment, again, that the vortex opens and we have new timelines available to us to shift into and to experience ourselves and our reality with a capital R. because he understands he gave them their effects, right? Like A Course in Miracles, those first couple of lessons, we are the one who defined these people, these places, these things as good, bad, as evil, as la la la. I mean, what if the devil showed up to you and I mean, we've seen this, right? Maybe this metaphor in films where, you know, and I'm not so prolific with the Bible. I'm working on it. I am reading it. David and Goliath, but the idea where the big monster comes and there's this little tiny character, and little tiny character's looking up, you know, and the devil's all like, you know, this evil beast. But the little character like is just like, I love you, you know, and hands it a flower. It's like, you know, sure, the beast can, you know, eat it or, you know, set it on fire or whatever. But that doesn't change the reality of that little identity, or that little being is in peace, is in love, is seeing through the veil, is seeing beyond what the beast is showing them. And that is our ability. That is one of our superpowers, is to not respond, is to be like, oh, I see that. I see the matrix. I see that you're being a bully. I don't have to respond to it, and I don't have to judge it, and I don't have to call you bad or even call you a bully. But from my past experiences, I see that this is going on, and I am choosing consciously not to participate, or maybe you will. Okay. So one last time, the instant that we see things as they are, which is all God, love, source, they have no more effect on us, right? So those things that we would be shown in the matrix that have polarity, if we see them with our holy vision, we just see the love and the light there, they have no effect on you here in the now, because you understand you gave them their effects. You said, yes, I agree. This is bad. Ooh, this is deadly. Ooh, this is infectious. Ooh, this is, ooh, right? We're the ones deciding. We're the ones, and we can choose again. We decide whether they are real or not. Okay, so we're going to finish up here, and I'm so grateful. I know there's a gang of you hanging out, and I'm so grateful for you to be here. So in wrapping up with this, lesson 331 and lesson 312. Lesson 311, I judge all things as I would have them be. In quantum science, there's a term, or there's a, I don't know what it's called, a law, a theory called the observer effect. And you've probably heard about it, right? You know, the way, and Wayne Dyer, I may misquote, but Wayne Dyer was very famous for, you know, his quote regarding it, that, you know, how you look at things, it determines how they see you, how they look back at you. So, and the way you see things changes things. So again, this ties in with our holy vision and this whole quest in today's sharing and interaction. The observer effect. How I look at something. Remember at the beginning of the show, we were talking about how the atoms, all the atoms in the universe are just like, bloop, 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 bloop. That's how I like to think about them, that they're just bubbling and frothing and just like waiting. They're just waiting. They're just neutral, and they're waiting for us to be like, and you are perfect health, and I am perfect light, and this is perfect water, and we are all blessed. You know, like the atoms are just like, okay, I'll do whatever you do. And the grid is like, yeah, we're gonna put those atoms together and make it into a thing that's gonna beam into you and through the matrix as your simulation experience. And it's either gonna be the R with capital R or the R with little r, maybe something in between. But this idea being that the observer effect means that it's all on us. It's all on you. How you see things is going to determine what you are shown in the universe. And this is quantum science. This is science. They can see this now, that the way that we observe things, we have an effect on our experience. So that in itself, just driving home this idea of the holy vision, why would we not choose holy vision? If metaphysically, the way I see things, and in quantum science, if scientifically and metaphysically, the way I see things can change the way things are responding and reacting and becoming and being in my reality, then let me use this power consciously. When you stare out into the abyss, you realize the abyss is looking back at you. Niti. Beautiful. Thank you, Royal Corvez. That's beautiful. So I judge all things as I would have them be. According to A Course in Miracles, the moment we judge, we're in the matrix. The moment we judge, the moment we even have an opinion, and I know that might seem really harsh, but this is what the teachings teach, right? They take us to that edge of like, just see love and you will have love. You will be love. And it's that deconstructing of all the polarity and all the ways that we, see things, people, places, everything. You can see someone who's an addict and just say like, okay, they're going through this. Or you can be like, man, fucking addiction sucks. They're going to go through hell. Do you know that my brother, blah, blah. And so they're going to suffer and the whole family's going to go down and they're going to be fucked because the detox. You can add all these stories. Or you could just be like, okay, there's someone that's dealing with addiction right now. Don't judge it. Everything just is what it is. Judgment was made to be a weapon used against truth. And in my own notes here on the side, it causes division, separation, consciousness. Holy vision is what is unified, is what is coherent, is what is all inclusive, contains all. It separates, right? Judgment separates what it is being used against and sets it off as if it were a thing apart. And in our science and spirituality blessings, in our, oh, hello, welcome. In our science and spirituality teachings, in our studies, right, we realize that we are one, all is one. If you meditate, right, maybe you've had that realization, all is one. And then it makes of it what you would have it be. So first of all, we judge it, separates it from us, and then we're like, this is good, this is bad. Then we attach the story, you see. Remember, everything is nothing with a twist. We're the one who adds the twist. It judges what it cannot understand. Judgment judges what it cannot understand because it cannot see totality and therefore judges falsely. Again, the moment we judge, we're in the matrix. And because we're judging, we are not seeing with the holy vision. We're not seeing the bigger picture. And so it's false. It's not the truth. Let us not use judgment today, but make a gift of it to God, who has a different use for it. God will relieve us of the agony of all judgments we have made against ourselves and reestablish peace of mind by giving us God's judgment of his Son. Your ability to see as Christ sees, right? What would Jesus do? Well, what would Jesus see? I use that one. When I catch myself and I'm like, ooh, and I catch myself judging and everything, or, and I'm, oh, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Is this really serving me? Is this really where I want to be right now? What is this serving to be here? I'm like, okay, well, what would Jesus see? How would Jesus see this? Use your holy vision. And if you resonate with the Jesus frequency, which is all about fourth dimensional consciousness, the tiny space in the heart, that we preach about here, this is your truth. This is your supernatural ability. This is your inherent ability. It's your nature. It's your nature to see unity. It is your nature to see the love in your brothers and sisters. It is your nature to see the beauty in the earth, to see the beauty in yourself. Right? It is our nature. We're just, distracted by the beliefs, the conditionings, the thoughts, all this stuff, and our hurts, our unhealed trauma. And again, that's why what I preach is when you heal your grievances, history cannot repeat itself. And as long as we're pulling from the Akashik and playing those same records through the etheric body, which is casting out to the grid matrix, the grid is saying, okay, here's your simulation in the matrix. We're hamsters on the ring, running the same paradigms, running the same timelines. Why doesn't anything ever change? You get to realize and change things for yourself. And what this speaks to in A Course in Miracles, there's a chapter in the back in the workbook for teachers, God's Last Judgment. And this book is said to be Jesus Christ, channeled Jesus Christ, making amendments and clarifying in aspects that were written in the Bible that are perceived as being negative or limiting. And this is apparently Christ saying like, okay, here's a way to see things differently through the lens of love. So the last judgment, according to A Course in Miracles, is the realization that God has no judgment over you, that there actually is no judgment. That's the final judgment, is that you are perfect and that you are whole. You are sinless inherently. Sin is an idea of the matrix. So we're going to wrap up here. Lesson 312, I see all things as I would have them be. Perception follows judgment. Observer effect. How I see. Now, I remember there's a story I tell. I was in a parking lot late at night. It was dark. I was like the only one there. I'm like fumbling for my keys. I felt a little weird or whatever. And then this man starts to walk from the far corner, and I like a click, click his shoes. And I'm like, and I'm fumbling for my keys and I'm feeling the fear. And then I remember that I'm choosing the fear, that I'm putting the twist on this story here. Let me change this. I imagine the footsteps I hear, the person walking in my perception towards me, right? The part of me that's like, oh, he's coming, whoever he is, the boogeyman or whatever, the stalker or the stories in our head. But the moment that I was like, no, that's JC, that's Jesus Christ right there. Whoever that brother is, that's Christ. I see Christ in that brother. Instantly, my biochemistry changed. I relaxed. I found my key. Got in the car without the like I'm gonna die, or someone's gonna threaten me. I just got in the car, and I look over my shoulder, and the dude just walked right. He was going to the exit across in the parking lot. He didn't even look at me. This is what I'm saying. We create these scenarios in our head, which gathers these frequencies in our minds, in our bodies, in our field, in our etheric field, that then feed into the matrix. So, sooner or later, perhaps the universe will give us what it is we've been perceiving on repeat as an experience, just to satisfy, right, the resonant field that we are broadcasting. And that's all that's happening here in the matrix. So we decide. I see all things as I would have them be. Would I have that person be a mugger? Heck no. Would I have them be Christ? Especially in my guise of like realizing my fear? Yes, I would. Thank you very much. Okay. Perception follows judgment. Having judged, we therefore see what we would look upon. Ooh, I see this, right? So the moment if I was like, this person is out to get me. Now I'm telling you as well, listen to your intuition. I don't know what our histories are, what our karmas are. Believe me, there have definitely been times where, God has whispered, intuition has whispered, get the fuck out of here, and it's like, I'm going to listen to that, so listen to your intuition, listen to your heart. And as you do that and you exercise that musculature to really listen, not just hear, but to really listen for the voice of God, for the voice of Holy Spirit, Jesus, whatever name you give it, you will know. You will know. And there's a difference between my projected fears about the guy walking towards me in the parking lot versus, and if I'm not getting, my little, I can get myself a little anxious about this because I'm judging the situation. I'm setting things up that I'm going to be hurt in some way. I'm going to be threatened in some way. Yet those biochemical Akashic memory reruns of some paradigm where maybe I've been hurt in the past and now I need to reproject that and have this scenario replay itself. All of those things, if I don't have the voice for God saying, get the fuck out of there now. If God's not coming in, breaker, we need you to really get this information here, then it's all me creating the fantasy, creating the illusion. But if I was in that situation and God was like, yeah, you're right, get the fuck out. I'd be like, but I know then that God would also make the way to make it so upon me following the lead, following the intuition, trusting it, leaning into it and saying, okay, God, show me, what do we do? Get in the car, take a left, go to the right, whatever it is. But so I'm just illuminating that there, sure, there's a time and a place in this third dimension where, get out. And your intuition will guide you to safety. Yet, understanding that there's a lot of stories that we add to scenarios that fabricate or create a synthetic simulation within the simulation we are in that just perpetuates the stories rooted in judgment that separate and bring us away from our ability to utilize our holy vision. Having judged, we therefore see what we would look upon, for sight can merely serve to offer us what we would have. It is impossible to overlook what we would see and fail to see what we have chosen to behold. How surely, therefore, must the real world come to greet the holy sight of anyone who takes the Holy Spirit's purpose as his goal for seeing. The Holy Spirit, in A Course in Miracles, I like to say, is akin to the higher self. It is the voice for God. It's kind of like the messenger. You send your prayers. The Holy Spirit's like, I got you, directly to God. Unless you feel you already have that direct connect with God, blessings, but either way, Holy Spirit is the voice for God, is that divine messenger, is your higher self. I mean, they have the same initials, right? HS. I like to think about it in that way. Okay, so how surely, therefore, must the real world come to greet the holy sight of anyone who takes the Holy Spirit's purpose as his goal for seeing? Holy Spirit sees as God would see, with holy vision, with unified vision. And he cannot fail to look upon what Christ would have him see and share Christ's love for what he looks upon. Again, what would Jesus see? What would Jesus see? And then the next lesson after that, lesson 313, now let a new perception come to me. Physical eyes, again, see on the horizon, see the grid matrix, see the polarity, see the binary system of the matrix. We use the tools of this horizontal vision, of this 3D vision. We learn to hone our ability to see love, to shift the tipping point away from the ways that we've been trained to see fear, the way that we've been trained, like the Pavlovian dogs, to react and respond. And so generate more of those fear-based reactions and creations in the matrix, individually and collectively. Look what I see. Look, isn't this bad? And even when I share stuff online that maybe it's about, perhaps things that are currently going on in the situation globally, often I will put bubble of light. I'm placing it in a bubble of light, because I'm just sharing information. What that means is I'm sharing information without polarizing it. I'm not saying this is good or this is bad. I'm just saying, here's some information, y'all. Do what you want with it, but I'm putting it in a bubble of light because I'm not trying to be right or wrong about anything. I'm not trying to run grids or psychically manipulate anyone or anything, but I'm like, this is interesting. This is interesting current information in our situation that we are sharing globally. And here it is. Do with it what you will. But again, our ability then to shift the tipping point away from the stories we've been told, away from seeing the duality of this matrix, to shift from that dual vision and to use the lenses of perception of the physical eyes to learn how to toggle back and forth 3D, 4D, 3D, 4D, to see heaven on earth, to see hell on earth. And really, it's not earth. What I preach is that the world is the matrix. The world is the 3D. The world is the illusion. The earth, that which we perceive through the heart, with Christ's vision, with our holy vision, that is the truth. That is the earth. That's the truth. The reality with the capital R. The world, the reality with the small r. But we use the world, we use our vision, we use the matrix to master the matrix. And we do this in part by learning how to use these eyes. We learn how to see love. Mr. Rogers, remember all these little points we talked about at the beginning. See love. Even when fear is saying, look, you should be really scared of this. This is really awful. Look at all these horrible things happening. And you're just like, I see love. You're unfuckable with. And you also create the paradigm that sustains a resonance for others who are ready or willing, or who really are praying or seeking to see more unity, but they're broken, or they're hurt, or they're this, or they, whatever. But when they pray and they ask for that, and then they bump into you and you just naturally see that, and you're like, yeah, look at the thing. And they're like, I've been praying to see things differently, and now this helps the little piece of my puzzle to get it in this way. So thank you. We do that for each other. We do that for each other. We learn, again, we're training ourselves to see love instead of fear. Write a new definition, write a new story about those stories where you have the stories about the stories about the stories that keep you bound in the loom of the matrix. Rewrite the story, see things differently, observer effect, give the power to those atoms that make you up, that make this whole place up. That's what we've decided. That's what we've decided in science thus far, until we get more data. They respond to how we observe them. And so let us see in love. Let us see with love. And what happens then, right? Again, so this is just the horizon. This is just the timelines of time and space. In the now, when we drop into fourth dimension, when we drop into holy vision, seeing with the third eye and the heart, and on the horizon, seeing the vertical and the horizontal. Remember at the beginning, we were drawing the circle around the Holy Cross, going beyond the matrix, beyond the story that there's nothing new under the sun. Of course, there's nothing new under the sun if we keep repeating the same patterns. It is when we drop out of the timelines of time that keep us anchored to rerunning stories in the matrix. It is when we drop out of those paradigms that we drop out of time, and we then find ourselves in the nowosphere. In the now. That's the synchronicity. That's the spontaneous healing. That's the like where you're healthy, you're happy, nothing sticks to you. There's this aspect with Pinocchio. Remember, we were looking at stone earlier, right? The feed forward, the feedback loop. He's feeding forward into the grid matrix, the thoughts, the beliefs, the things, and the grid is saying, I got you. I'm gonna pour that right back into your simulation, baby. Feed forward loop. I'm gonna feed it right back to you. The feedback loop. And now I forget even why I was even saying that. But that's the idea, that as long as we keep rerunning, then we're just like doing that. Then there is nothing new under the sun. But the moment we drop out of time, which means us forgetting who we think we are, forgetting that we are just limited to being this physical body, limited to the stories that we would be conditioned to told. Conditioned to told? You know what I mean. Then of course there's nothing new under the sun, but there is what I propose when we drop out of time. We drop the judgment, we drop the stories, or at least rewrite them, begin to rewrite them in a way that is in alignment with greater love, with healing, with light, with those frequencies that you would enjoy walking with, that you would enjoy experiencing. And so dropping time, dropping timelines, dropping history, dropping memory, so that we can be free to experience the now. The nowosphere, the synchronicity, the flow, the happenstance, the miracle. A Course in Miracles. It's called A Course in Miracles, for a reason. And it states that miracles are our birthright. They're not like these fantastic things that might happen just once or twice in your whole life, or that you might hear about. They're actually, in a sense of time, they are a constant, and it's creating the correct conditions within us. Your holy vision gives rise to the miracle. One person sees a miracle, the other person might see, devastation, or see, crisis. And one person is like, I see the miracle in this. I see the miracle in this person breaking down and going to detox. I see the miracle in this, this seeming awful scenario. See through it with your holy vision. Light sight activated. Go beyond the binary subset of the grid matrix, right? And go into the sun, go into that holy cross, that solar logos, where we pull in from the Christ. That's all it is. That's the sun, the Christ. Activation within you. What would Jesus see? What would Jesus see? And seeing with that holy vision, that unified vision. One last little thing. Last night, I was guided to write something on a receipt. What is it? See your vision into fruition. Do it, be it. This changes the puzzle of the whole. So in my second book, what's it called? How to Manifest with the Law of Vibration. Talk about the law of attraction, the difference between law of attraction and law of vibration. But what this little thing here that I wrote last night speaks to is, the reason why I'm bringing up my second book is because I talk about this in it. As we turn on and we come activated to our part of the vision, right? Once we lay down the pain and the suffering and the trauma and the, blaming and the shame and all of these things, these lessons that we've come here to learn, but in the releasing of them, in the relinquishing of them, then again, we begin to see things new, more expanded vision, a more expanded sense of self, of a greater whole taking place. And in that greater whole, there's that healing. And within that healing is that greater deepening and expansion of the realization of what my part is here. And really, it's simple. It's just you being you. getting rid of all the, this is what I offer. And the primary level is just, healing our lives to the degree where we can actually just relax and hear the voice for God. And when you hear the voice for God and you follow that intuition, that Holy Spirit guidance, every moment becomes a miracle. Every moment, it's just a succession of nowness. And then you pop back and you're like, oh yeah, the matrix, let me pop in there. I gotta go to the doctor. I gotta go to the dentist. Let me go to the matrix. Let me go to the yeah. Let me go to the matrix. But generally, you're like in the world, not of it. And I'm telling you, I preach this because I live it. I experience it, and it is for us all. It is accessible for us all. And this point about us realizing, though, our sense of purpose. So when we have that divine inspiration and that intuition, and we get the ahas, and we're like, I really want to paint this painting, or I really want to become an archaeologist, or I really want to, be an anthropologist, or I really want to be a holistic doctor, or whatever it is, a knife thrower, a roller skater. But there's some divine within you allowing yourself to be and embody that then lights up the greater whole, the puzzle of the whole that we are here together. See your vision into fruition. Do it, be it. This changes the puzzle of the whole, right? When you begin to light up, people are like, why are you so bright? Why are you so happy? What are you doing? I want I want what they have. And then whatever your story is, whatever your means or your blessings or your, passages are, you share them. You write your articles, you publish your blog, or you just hang out with your friends and you're like, yo, this is what's up, or you post your memes or whatever it is. You share the providence, you share the light. But even if you don't post memes, and even if you don't do a blog, and even if you don't do a YouTube or whatever it is, just you being that energetically is lighting up the puzzle piece of all the pieces of us that are the pieces of the puzzle that create the greater whole. And together, as we courageously move towards embodying that divine intuition, that divine sense of service, that divine sense of purpose of what we are here to do, be, and embody, that is in service to the greater whole. And we do it just because it is our nature, not to change the world, not to save the world. Those are all matrix things that will keep you bound. That's what I share. But because it is your nature to have holy vision, because it is your nature to be the beautiful artist, to be the healer, to be the speaker, to be the whatever it is that you know is your gift to be here. That's the new earth. And because you know what the new is beyond the stories in the matrix. The new is the now. And it's you bridging that. So thank you for being here, everyone. I know we went over today. Usually I just do about an hour, unless I have a guest. Oh my gosh, we're at an hour and 45. But I'm so grateful. So I pray, as always, that even a little nugget of today's offering it really serves you and your divine, natural, supernatural ability to embody your holy vision. So thank you, and namaste and blessings, everyone. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much. Blessings, you too.